Section 0 of Animal Fables from the Dark Continent. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Animal Fables from the Dark Continent by A.O. Stafford. Preface. These fables have been selected, adapted, and arranged from the folklore of the Negro race. 20 of them were drawn entirely from African sources, and the other 14 from American. The striking similarity between the two groups shows their common African origin and relationship. It is now admitted that the great number of quaint animal stories once so frequently told among the slave population of our southern states in their odd dialect were brought to America by their ancestors from the shores of Africa. There exists among the natives of that country a vast store of oral literature in the form of allegories, legends, fables, and proverbs, in the telling of which they take great delight. This literature is especially rich in stories dealing with animals, in which many curious and interesting reasons are given for their particular habits and physical peculiarities. The aim of the present collection is to furnish for the children of the lower grades some of the most characteristic fables of that literature in a form that can be easily read and understood, and in which the original spirit has been preserved. A.O. Stafford, Cheney, Pennsylvania. End of Section 0. Section 1 of Animal Fables from the Dark Continent by A.O. Stafford. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Happy Age in the Animal World. The children wanted to hear more of the plantation stories like those their new schoolmate, Frank, had told them of the strange doings of animals. "Please, Miss Bertha, tell us one of those stories," begged little Mabel. "Oh, do, Miss Bertha," called out Fred from the last seat in the middle row. Fred had seen in a book at the public library many amusing animal pictures illustrating some of the stories, but could not read the queer language in which they were written. "Yes, yes, Miss Bertha, do tell us about this new kind of story," came at once from different parts of the schoolroom. The teacher held up her hand for order, then asked, "How many would like to hear an old plantation fable?" Hands went up from 35 little desks, and 35 pairs of bright eyes danced in 35 happy faces. "Well, my little friends," began Miss Bertha, "I will tell you some that I have read and heard. Many of these stories came across the sea from a faraway country called Africa. They were brought by the slaves from that far-off land to this country. Later, they were told in the cabins and fields of our Southland by the slave people in their odd, broken English, which we now call Negro dialect. Many of these stories are told to this day and have not found their way into books. I will tell you some of them from time to time in our own language, beginning now with the happy age in the animal world. In that long, long ago time, before the large ships came with their white sails, and before the gun was heard in the jungle, the elephant was king of all the animal world. His size, strength, and wisdom made him a mighty one in a land of dense forests, wide plains, deep rivers, and high mountains. Next to him in rank was the lion, who had charge of the animals of the thick woods. The eagle was the head man among the birds, and the alligator had to carry out the orders of the king among those that lived in the long, deep rivers. As King Elephant was a wise and kind ruler, he was obeyed by his headmen and loved by his subjects, and all the animals under him lived in peace and happiness. No one then thought of his size, his strength, his weakness, his cunning, or his nimbleness. When the roar of the lion was heard in the woods, the deer did not bound away in fear. The cry of the leopard did not frighten the dog. The yelp of the jackal did not worry the dove, and the swoop of the hawk had no terrors for the hen and her little children. For many, many years this happy kingdom lasted. Nothing came to disturb it, except now and then a fierce windstorm, or the sharp lightning and heavy thunder that came in the stormy seasons. So the kingship remained in the strong family of the elephant. But at last, a strange thing happened. In the dark jungle appeared a creature unlike any creature the animals had seen before. It stood upright on 2 legs, holding out from its body a long spear. Its coming caused great alarm. This upright creature was man. With his spear, he killed many of the jungle people. Others he caught, carried to his home, and taught them to hunt their brothers. All of this brought a great change among all the animals. In trying to escape from one another, as well as from the hunter, the strong ones began to harm the weak. The nimble ones sought safety in trees and holes, and those that were cunning played tricks on the strong and the quick. Thus passed away, in that far-off time, after the coming of man, the happy age in the animal world. End of section 1. Read by Laura Gibbs.